belief, Charlie Brown. You're ridiculous.
I can't help it, Lucy.
Remember that Valentine's Day special where Charlie Brown actually had a chance at romance? That red-haired girl wasn't just a crush.
I'd give anything in the world if that little girl with the red hair would come over and sit with me.
She was television's first portrayal of childhood anxiety and rejection as genuine emotional drama. Today, we're counting down 20 surprising facts about Charlie Brown's doomed Valentine that'll make you see that empty mailbox in a whole new light. It was the second Peanuts special ever made. You're in Love, Charlie Brown premiered on June 12, 1967.
You're in love, Charlie Brown.
Poor little Charlie Brown.
Just 2 years after A Charlie Brown Christmas revolutionized animated television, CBS fast-tracked production after the Christmas special's unprecedented success.
I think there must be something wrong with me, Linus. Christmas is coming, but I'm not happy.
Earned astronomical ratings and critical acclaim. Lee Mendelson and Bill Melendez, who produced the Christmas special,
Have you ever thought of doing a Charlie Brown Christmas show? And I lied and I said, oh, absolutely, we've been thinking about it. And
returned with Charles Schulz to create another emotional gut punch, disguised as children's entertainment.
Thrown it down on the living room couch and it said, Mom, I feel just like Charlie Brown.
The network initially wanted a Halloween special, but Schulz insisted on exploring Charlie Brown's unrequited love story first. The red-haired girl never appears on screen. Throughout the entire 30-minute special, the red-haired girl remains completely off-camera. Audiences see only her shadow, her silhouette, or the back of her head in distant shots. This wasn't a budget decision. It was Schulz's deliberate creative choice. He believed showing her face would diminish Charlie Brown's idealization and make her real rather than mythological. In the comic strip, she similarly never appeared directly, maintaining her status as an unattainable ideal rather than an actual character. Voice director Bill Melendez wanted to cast a voice actress, but Schulz refused, arguing that hearing her speak would ruin the mystery and make her ordinary. The decision created television's first entirely off-screen love interest character. Vince Guaraldi composed new music, specifically for romance. Jazz pianist Vince Guaraldi, who created the iconic Linus and Lucy theme, composed an entirely new score for this special, focusing on romantic melancholy. His piece, Pebble Beach, became the musical representation of Charlie Brown's longing, using minor key progressions and sparse piano to convey adolescent heartache. Guaraldi told Schulz he wanted the music to sound like what it feels like when you're 12 and convinced you'll never be loved. The composer spent 3 weeks refining the romantic themes, far longer than typical television animation schedules allowed. CBS considered the music too sophisticated and depressing for a children's cartoon, but Schulz defended it fiercely, threatening to withdraw the special entirely if they replaced Guaraldi's score. Child voice actors recorded their genuine reactions. Peter Robbins voiced Charlie Brown with instructions to sound actually sad, not cartoon sad.
These are the kids I've invited to my birthday party.
Who's Mimi?
She's the little girl with the beautiful voice.
Director Bill Melendez deliberately didn't show child actors the full script, instead giving them individual scenes and recording their spontaneous emotional reactions.
The queen, if she wants to be one, it's undemocratic!
Good.
When Charlie Brown's Valentine mailbox remains empty,
Got a letter in the mail, eh, Chuck?
I know you like me, and in my own way, I like you too.
Robin's vocal performance contains genuine disappointment because Melendez told him something bad happened, without explaining what this technique created unusually authentic emotional performances from child actors who typically delivered more theatrical cartoon reads. Sally Dreyer, voicing Lucy, later recalled Melendez would sometimes make kids actually upset before recording scenes, then give them candy afterward. Controversial directing methods that nonetheless produced remarkably genuine vocal performances for animated characters. The special was Charles Schulz's most personal story. Schulz, based the entire special on his own childhood experience being rejected by a red-haired girl named Donna Mae Johnson in Minnesota.
Some of them are memories only in name only. Schroeder, for instance, was a young fellow with whom I used to caddy in St. Paul, Minnesota.
He carried that rejection for decades, later admitting, "I never got over her." The mailbox scene where Charlie Brown receives nothing.
Hey, I like you too. I think it's from that little red-haired girl. She knows I like her, and
That's not from any little red-haired girl.
Was lifted directly from Schultz's own Valentine's Day memory of receiving 0 cards in elementary school. While watching classmates receive dozens, Schultz told Lee Mendelson, "This isn't just Charlie Brown's story, it's my story, and I'm still not over it at age 44. Lucy's psychiatric booth was controversial with mental health professionals. The American Psychiatric Association sent CBS a formal complaint about Lucy's Psychiatric Help 5 cents booth, arguing it trivialized mental health treatment and portrayed therapy as simplistic advice giving. They specifically objected to scenes where Lucy gives Charlie Brown dismissive, unhelpful guidance about his romantic feelings. CBS ignored the complaint, but Charles Schultz privately agreed the criticism had merit. He defended the booth as satire of bad therapy, not therapy itself, but admitted the distinction wasn't clear to younger viewers. Mental health advocates continued criticizing Lucy's booth throughout the 1970s as the special aired repeatedly in syndication. The special originally had a happy ending. Schultz's first draft included a final scene where Charlie Brown receives a late Valentine from the red-haired girl, suggesting mutual interest and hope. CBS executives loved this ending, calling it uplifting and appropriate for families. Schultz rewrote it overnight, removing the happy ending entirely and replacing it with Charlie Brown's resigned acceptance of rejection. He told producers, "Real life doesn't give you consolation prizes. Kids need to learn that sometimes you just lose." CBS fought the change, arguing audiences expected resolution and satisfaction. It aired opposite Gilligan's Island and lost the ratings war. Despite critical acclaim, You're in Love, Charlie Brown lost its time slot to CBS's own Gilligan's Island rerun on competing nights during initial broadcast. The special drew 12.8 million viewers, respectable numbers, but significantly lower than A Charlie Brown Christmas, which had pulled 15.4 million. Network executives considered the romantic focus too mature and depressing for the Saturday morning cartoon demographic. CBS debated canceling future Peanut specials based on these disappointing ratings. Only after the special's Valentine's Day re-airings in 1968 and 1969 drew consistently higher viewership did CBS commit to the franchise long-term. Snoopy's dance scene was entirely improvised animation. The sequence where Snoopy dances with a mop while Charlie Brown suffers romantically was created without any storyboard or script direction. Animator Bill Melendez animated Snoopy's movements by literally dancing around the studio himself, then drawing frames based on his own physical comedy. The scene runs nearly 90 seconds, an eternity in television animation, with no dialogue, just Vince Guaraldi's jazz piano. CBS executives wanted to cut the scene entirely, arguing it was self-indulgent and irrelevant to the plot. The special introduced Peppermint Patty to television. Peppermint Patty made her television debut in this special, though her role was minimal, just 2 brief scenes. Schultz created her specifically for this special to serve as a contrast to Charlie Brown's shyness, demonstrating confidence and directness in her own romantic interests. Voice actress Gail DeFaria was only 9 years old during recording, making her one of the youngest performers in Peanuts television history. Her tomboyish vocal delivery established Peppermint Patty's character template for all future appearances. Charles Schultz drew every animation frame's character design. Unlike most television animation where character designers create model sheets and animators work from references, Schultz personally drew key character poses for every major scene in the special. He provided hundreds of reference drawings showing exact expressions, body language, and emotional nuances he wanted animators to capture. This hands-on approach was extremely unusual for television animation and significantly slowed production schedules. Animators found it creatively restrictive, but admitted the result looked more authentically Schultz than previous attempts at Peanuts animation. The empty mailbox scene was shot 47 times. The climactic scene, where Charlie Brown opens his mailbox to find nothing required, 47 separate animation takes before Schultz approved it. He rejected versions where Charlie Brown looked too sad, too angry, too surprised, or too accepting. Schultz wanted a specific expression of quiet devastation and resignation without self-pity. An incredibly subtle emotional note to capture in limited animation, animator Bill Melendez later called it the most difficult single scene I've ever animated in my entire career. The final approved version shows Charlie Brown's face for only 3.5 seconds, but those seconds required weeks of work and multiple complete reanimations. CBS censored a scene about religious differences. The original script included dialogue where Linus explains that Charlie Brown and the red-haired girl attend different churches, suggesting religious difference as a barrier to their relationship. CBS's Standards and Practices Department deleted the entire exchange, citing network policies against religious content in children's programming. Outside explicitly religious specials, Schultz was furious, arguing the scene addressed real childhood experiences of interfaith attraction and social boundaries. The network refused to negotiate, threatening to shelve the special entirely if Schultz insisted on including religious content. It was originally titled Charlie Brown's All-Stars. Initial production documents show the working title was Charlie Brown's All-Stars, with a completely different plot about baseball rather than romance. Schultz abandoned that concept 3 weeks into pre-production, deciding instead to explore Charlie Brown's unrequited love for the red-haired girl. CBS had already promoted the baseball-themed special in trade publications. Deciding instead to explore Charlie Brown's unrequited love for the red-haired girl. CBS had already promoted the baseball-themed special in trade publications, forcing awkward corrections and revised promotional materials. The title changed twice more, briefly becoming A Valentine for Charlie Brown before Schultz settled on You're in Love, Charlie Brown. As the final title, Vince Guaraldi recorded the soundtrack in one take. Guaraldi's complete musical score was recorded in a single 6-hour session at Coast Recorders in San Francisco. He refused to do multiple takes or corrections, insisting jazz should feel spontaneous and unrehearsed, even in cartoons. The recording session included only Guaraldi on piano, bassist Monty Budwig, and drummer Colin Bailey, an unusually small ensemble for television animation scoring. Several audible mistakes remain in the final broadcast audio, including a missed note during Pebble Beach that Guaraldi refused to re-record. Schultz loved the imperfect, live feel and insisted CBS keep the unpolished recording rather than demanding studio perfection. The special's budget was only $76,000. The entire production budget was $76,000, remarkably low even by 1967 television standards. For comparison, typical Disney television animation budgets exceeded $150,000 per half-hour episode. The Peanuts specials kept costs down through limited animation techniques, small voice casts, and minimal backgrounds. Schultz took no upfront payment for his creative work, instead negotiating for back-end syndication royalties, a gamble that eventually made him extraordinarily wealthy as the specials aired repeatedly for decades. CBS executives initially viewed the low budget as evidence the Peanuts format couldn't sustain quality production values. Peter Robbins struggled with Charlie Brown's emotional scenes. Voice actor Peter Robbins, then 11 years old, found Charlie Brown's rejection and sadness emotionally difficult to perform repeatedly during recording sessions. He later revealed in interviews that portraying constant failure and disappointment messed with my head as a kid. Director Bill Melendez would have Robbins record painful scenes multiple times, asking him to feel more hurt with each take. Robin's mother complained to producers that the emotional content was inappropriate for child performers, but CBS dismissed her concerns. It changed. How children's television portrayed romance. You're in Love, Charlie Brown was the first American children's television program to treat childhood romantic feelings as serious, legitimate emotions rather than cute comedy. Previous cartoons portrayed kids' crushes as jokes or background gags. This special treated Charlie Brown's feelings with complete sincerity and respected his emotional pain as valid. Child psychologists praised the special for acknowledging that children experience genuine romantic longing and devastating rejection. The special influenced future children's programming to take young characters' emotional lives seriously. Charles Schulz regretted never showing the red-haired girl. In a 1997 interview, 2 years before his death, Schulz admitted he regretted maintaining the red-haired girl's anonymity across 5 decades of Peanuts content. He said, "I think I should have shown her at least once, given her a personality, made her real rather than a symbol." Schulz felt the device had become a creative crutch that limited storytelling possibilities for Charlie Brown's character development. He briefly considered revealing her in the final Peanuts comic strip, but ultimately decided maintaining consistency was more important than providing closure. It made rejection and failure acceptable in children's entertainment. You're in Love, Charlie Brown revolutionized children's television by ending with complete failure and zero resolution. Charlie Brown gets nothing. No Valentine, no acknowledgement, no consolation. Just acceptance that sometimes you lose, and life continues anyway. This was genuinely radical for 1960s children's programming, which typically provided happy endings and moral lessons. The special proved children could handle stories without neat resolutions or comforting outcomes. So there you have it. 20 surprising facts proving You're in Love, Charlie Brown wasn't just a Valentine's special. It was a revolutionary emotional risk that changed what children's television could say about failure, rejection, and the reality that sometimes you don't get what you want. The wildest part? A cartoon about a kid getting absolutely nothing became something generations of viewers never forgot.